What's up guys, Bob here, and I'm going to make a little bit of a new video series for you. Now, I figured that since I play a lot of fighting games, there are a lot of terms to just randomly throw around without really bothering to explain it, I figure I'm just going to go ahead and sit down and make a quick video series listing how I play fighting games, a lot of stuff I do, and generally how you can apply any of this to your own game to make your play a little better. So today I'm going to begin with fighting game terminology, which generally spans a good chunk of information. Now, I'm going to aim to keep this video somewhere around of like 20 minutes. I don't want to elaborate too much on everything because frankly, I could be sitting here all day just talking about this crap, but I don't want to really waste too much time just going over this. I want to just cover the basics and go over some stuff that maybe a lot of you probably don't know about, you know. Alright, so let's get the show going right now with something called frames. Now, you probably all are aware of what frames are in a game. Like, if it runs at a certain frame rate, like 30, 60 frames per second. Now, just so you know, most fighting games out there today generally run at a solid 60 frames per second, with maybe a little bit of like some frame drops depending on the game. But generally, in something like Tekken or Soul Calibur or anything like that, hell, I think even Street Fighter, they generally run at a really good 60 frames per second. So now we have that 60 out of the way. I can tell you why this is important, because we don't just use frames to measure how well or how smoothly a game runs. We also use it as a measuring stick for how fast moves are. So like, let's say Armor King here, he's got by the way, I'm going to be using Tekken terminology for this because that's a game I'm comfortable with, but you can generally apply this if you just like plug in a few numbers here and there to calculate yours. Armor King's jabs, which is his fastest moves, come out at 10 frames. This is really fast. Now, going up from there, he's got like back 1-2, which is like 12 frames. He's got a dark uppercut, which is 14 frames, and etc. etc. We use these numbers as a measuring stick for how fast the move is, and this is important because the lower the number is, like, you know, like 10 frames. That is faster than like a 12 frame move, which will always beat it out no matter what you do, except in like certain situations, but I'll cover that in a later video. So now we got that out of the way, I need to establish frames for what I'm going to be talking about next, which is where it gets pretty complicated. Alright, so I just mentioned this and frames and all that good stuff. Now let's talk about the next important thing, which is something called punishers. Now, punishers are where your major defensive core is going to be established. Like, but first of all, there are two kinds of punishers. There are something called block punishers and another thing called whiff punishers. Now, whiff punishers are generally used to, like, this is like the easy one. It's generally just hitting your opponent when they're throwing out an attack and they miss one, and so they're pretty much guaranteed not to be able to block. So you want to use like a long range move, like, I don't know, Armor King's back 3, just put a foot right in their face. Or like, if you're feeling really ballsy with your execution, you can go for like a dark uppercut, or like, I don't know, a 3+4 into 2. Yeah, it depends on your character, really. Learn your character's long range moves and how fast they are, and you'll generally be able to get a pretty good grasp on whiff punishing. And just, whiff punishing is also one of your core defensive setups, but enough of that. So now let's talk about block punishers. This is where it gets a little tricky. Alright, so I'm going to first set up. This is why Tekken's training mode is really good, because you can do whatever you want. Alright. Oh, not the one I wanted. Defensive training. Alright, so I'm going to record Bruce here to do... Is it recording? Alright. Oops, hang on. I'm not paying attention right now. Hang on a sec. Alright, I'm just going to record one move, which is down forward 2. Pretty good move for Bruce, but I'm not here to talk about that right now. So, I'm going to set him to do that multiple times. Wait, isn't he in set to play? Defensive training. Oh, I didn't record. Hang on a sec. Alright, now we're done. So, as you can see, after... Actually, no, I have a better idea how I can make this. First of all, I need to tag an Armor King. Hang on a sec. Alright. Nope, I won. There we go. Armor King's down back 3, which is a pretty good example for what I'm going to be detailing here. Alright, so when I set him to do it, Armor King's going to do his down back 3, which is a pretty good move. So, however, if I block it, you'll see that I'll be able to immediately counterattack instead of Armor King being able to block it. The reason for this is because whenever you block an attack from an opponent, there's a window of opportunity for you to get like an immediate counterattack. This is called a punish. This is what block punishment basically is. It's essentially just whenever you block a move from your opponent and it's unsafe, meaning that there's a window of opportunity to get an immediate follow-up, you're generally going to want to do that. Like Armor King's down back 3. You can do like pretty much any one of your like 11 frames. I don't know the exact number, but I know it's something higher than 15 frames. And this means Armor King is going to be unable to block for something more than 15 frames, depending on like how much it actually is. But I'm just going to assume right now it's minus 15 frames, meaning you can do any 15 frame move that fast in order to get like a guaranteed follow-up on it. So like if I block it, I can launch him because my while standing move or while standing puncher happens to be 15 frames. Again, this is definitely one of the most important aspects of your character. You want to learn your punishers, and you probably won't be able to know what the frame data of every move in the game is. But just like my recommendation is like feel out. Like if you're unsure, just go for like something safe as a punisher, and you can generally do that. All right, so I'm gonna stop him from doing that. Now that you get the idea. Oh. Okay, there we go. Now we established what punishes are, let's go into what pokes are. Now pokes, oh, this word gets pretty fun. Pokes basically form the core of any fighting game's offense. Basically, King's down forward 1, I would argue, is easily one of like the best pokes in the game because it's quick, and in high tier play, you're gonna see people just spam the hell out of this. Now, when I set the AI to do this move, check this out. I can block it, but as you saw before, when I blocked it down back 3, it said punish, meaning that was a guaranteed follow-up and there's nothing they could do about that. However, when I block King's down forward 1, there's nothing I can do to punish that. It's faster than it recovers faster than any of my moves are able to get a follow-up on, making it what is essentially called safe. Like safe to throw out, safe to if it's unblocked, then you're not gonna get punished by anything. You're basically good, except for like in certain like frame setup situations. But that's too complicated for what I'm talking about right now. But generally, moves that are safe, you want to use them, like obnoxiously. If you're just playing like a very poke heavy game, you want to use this shit all day long, so your opponent will just be annoyed and all that good stuff. But generally, pokes are just like stuff you just throw out, like seeing if a hit and all that good stuff. Alright, so frames, punishers, and pokes are definitely the top 3 things I want to cover in this video. Now we got that out of the way, we can start moving on to some other stuff, shall we? Alright. Now the next big thing I want to talk about is ground game. This is where it's gonna get pretty fun. This is something like very few people take into account. Hang on a sec. Okay. Now, what's ground game? Ground game is essentially whatever you can, like, things you do to your opponent while they're on the ground. So let's say your opponent's like just lying on the ground after they got knocked down. Most people would easily assume, well, I can't do anything to him right now. I'm just gonna wait for him to stand back up and do shit. Well, that's kind of true, but you have a lot of options out of it. So let's say your opponent's just chilling on the ground. Well, moves such as like down back 3, 3+4, down 3, down 4 is a dedicated ground hitting move, which you definitely want to use. Those are generally, this applies for when your opponent just wants to lie on the ground. So if you're acting a fool and just like throwing out all this random bullshit on it, like just missing them, you can guess that and go for this, which is really good. Alright, so however, let's say they want to stand up. Alright, so let's say they just want to stand up. So I'm gonna get them on the ground again. Moves like Bruce's down 4 3-4 will pick them up and allow like follow-up combo sorts. And this is what ground game generally is. It's also called Okizeme, or I call it Okizeme, or just called Oki for short. It's generally ground game, and what you do to your opponent and the mind games you apply to them out of when they're trying to stand up or lie on the ground. These are really good tools you want to use against an opponent. Like, if you play Street Fighter, you probably heard of the term like, what the hell is it? It's either like cycloning or like, I can't remember what it is. But basically, everyone abuses it in Street Fighter because, like, if they just lie on the ground or, like, they have to basically immediately stand up, and that's, like, the wake-up game, that game is pretty weak. But in a game like Tekken, you have a few options. Like, alright, so if they just straight up stand up, you can hit them with some moves. However, if they are back rolling, well, that's when it's going to get a little different. Like, you can chase them down and apply any one of a certain number of moves out of it, like 4-4-3, which is also safe. It's also a tracking move, and it does a lot of other stuff, which is really good. So you generally don't want, you can't use that move enough, but of that. So you can do that. You can like chase him down, do like a back two. You can do like, oh man, I didn't even know you could do that move. All right, so there's that. And for other options, like, well, shit, I can't roll it back. I can like roll aside. Which is it's just like a different version of a back roll, but you generally get what I mean. Ground game, you definitely want to learn ground game if you want to like do any sort of like slightly above average gameplay for a fighting game. So like, or if you're just finding someone online, they have no idea what a ground game is. You can just fuck with them like all day, like, oh, they're just gonna stand ground, I'm gonna hit him with this shit all day. They can't do anything about it. Or like down 4, down 4-3, all that good stuff. Alright, so next thing I'm going to talk about is homing moves, which I mentioned previously. Like 4-4-3 is a move that is a tracking move and is safe. But what is a tracking move? Why would it be applied to something like this? Well, because of a 3D game like Tekken, which I guess this term could apply to like some 2D fighters maybe, you have the option of like sidestepping and like just doing whatever you want. Like, alright, let me see if I can. What is a good linear attack Armor King has? Let's find out. Guys, says record right now. So what does Armor King have? Down forward 1, 2-1. Ah, there we go. Hop kick. All right. Oh shit! Hang on. I actually got requested to record. Oops. Okay. Record. Up forward 4. Hop kick. Okay. So let's say that, well, you could just like sit here and eat it, or you can get a little ballsy and decide to sidestep it. And when you do that, you basically completely ignore the move itself, and you can go for a whiff punish or some kind. Let me wait for him to do it again. Yeah, see that? He's just gonna keep missing it, like no one's business. So if you have good reflexes, you can sidestep it. So let's say I try to sidestep something like, oh, I don't know. Well, nope, that's not it. Record that shit again. Down 4-1 plus 2, which is one of Armor King's dedicated, excuse me, homing moves. Oh, I try to start something like that, I'm fucked because it'll attract me to both sides and it'll knock me down. Oh, which that's basically the essence of a tracking move. It'll follow your opponent's movement to wherever they go if they're in the correct vicinity. So like I just saw before, I could like try sidestepping and a hop kick and it'll work. But if I sidestep that, well, that's just not gonna work. It's basically just cutting off more of your defensive options, and it applies more mind games to what you're doing. That's basically the key term what I'm trying to get across with this entire video: mind games. That is the most essential part of any fighting game you could ever pick up. You gotta learn the mind games. You gotta learn the strategies and all that shit. And it seems overwhelming at first, but trust me, it gets pretty fun. It gets fun messing with an opponent, and it's pretty satisfying. Alright, now for throws. Oh, this is where I get to use Armor King. This is fun. Alright, so a throw, as you can probably guess, is just where you like press a certain input or a certain command, and you engage in a throw of some kind. However, there's more throws than you'd be led to believe. Like, Armor King has multiple throws. His general class or like archetype in this game is that of a throw character. see if I can get this. Yeah. There we go. Armor King's got a lot of throws. So we got throws, which you generally, they generally go through guards, which is very good because if your opponent's just sitting there like, at least set up the AI to just block this shit. Standing guard. Okay, so they're just sitting here like blocking all this shit. You're like, I gotta get through his defenses somehow. I don't know how. Well, you could just, I don't know, throw out a throw and or let a throw rip, and you can just go right through your opponent, and that's always good. Now the follow-up to this is a throw break, which if your opponent sees a throw coming, we said to record president trading. I gotta keep doing this manually, but yeah, whatever. Record. I'm gonna set it to 2+4, which is one of his moves or one of his main throws. All right. Start. Dude, we're told I'm not a very good throw breaker myself, but this is generally the idea. Like, if you press a certain, this doesn't apply to all fighting games, at least it depends on what it is. If you press a certain button, like as your opponent is throwing you, and you have the reflexes and the knowledge for this, you can break the throw and essentially nullify one of their forms of offense. Yeah, this is one of the coolest things about Tekken. Any offense can be broken by anything. Anything can be beaten. This is really good. I don't know why I did that, but let's not do that. Alright, so throws and throwbacks. Now you got the idea of that. Okay. Now, as I've been demonstrating for this entire video so far, now it's time for some mix-ups. This is where it's going to get kind of deep. So I'm going to target Bruce and see what we can do. Alright, so I have him to standing guard right now, which means if I do any attacks that are blockable high, well, I just won't be able to get him. However, then I start doing some low attacks, which will go through a standing guard and hit him low. So let's say all of a sudden he starts deciding to crouch guard, which is like block low. Well, that's not working anymore, and he's blocking my highs now, but he can get hit by mid attacks. Now this is the core essence of what a mix-up is beating your opponent's defense and hitting them. That's what it really comes down to. I like down forward because it goes through crouching guards, but mix-ups can be talked about all day, so I'll just talk about a basic mix-up right now. I'm gonna set in the standing guard. So a basic mix-up with Bruce would be like standing 3 and like down 4, because this is the mid that does an already amount of damage, and down 4 or down 4. It's a quick low that is pretty unseeable, does an okay amount of damage, and it'll just be like that. However, there's more to mix-ups than just doing mid attacks and low attacks, and of course, again, depending on your fighting game, you can do low attacks as well as like if you're in Street Fighter, you can do like jump attacks or high attacks, or like as they're called, overheads. Not a good shit. But of course, as I demonstrated earlier with throw breaks, there's different kinds of throws now. All right, so let's say I do like a, I don't know, like a giant swing, which is easily one of what I would label as easily. Did you just tech roll that? No, you didn't. Well, I'd easily label as one of the single best throws in the game, possibly the best, but I can't judge that for sure. So this is actually broken by this. This actually looks like a. This move's ridiculous because it looks like a. Since he sends both hands forward, it looks like a 1+2 break, where you have to press both left punch, right punch at the same time. However, it's actually just a 1 break, and then I can, or I think to better illustrate, like just 1+3. If your opponent sees that coming, it's broken by pressing 1, 2+4, broken by pressing 2, and so on and so forth. This is basis of what a mix-up is. Armor King's got more mix-ups than you would expect him to. And then you can just throw into my giant swing for good measure, and it can't really block that. I love him so much. So yeah, that's basically what a mix-up is. It's just keeping your opponent on the defensive and getting through a guard through a barrage of the variety of attacks. So, time to go into zoning, which is not really a concept that's as strong as in Tekken as it would be in a game with like projectiles, but for the most part, it is kind of like here. Zoning itself generally is also called like spacing. Generally refers to controlling the space between you and your opponent. And I say control there. I didn't say just like running away, just like I'm gonna hide over here and just do nothing. Nah, so controlling space. From here, you can just like run right in and do like a slash kick of some kind. But spacing is a very good reason why you want to control space, and I'm going to show you why. What's a very large attack that I must have? All right, let's go with that. 1, 2, 4 from Bruce. All right, so he's gonna like throw it out all day, and I'm gonna be like, if I just stand in front of like a dumbass, I'm gonna be like, well, all those attacks are safe. 4 actually puts you into a stun state, so you're at a disadvantage, and I can't do anything. So I'm like, well, I could just sit here and take it like a dumbass, or I can start, start sidestepping. I can like just back up so it doesn't hit me like whatsoever, like from here, or like you just keep backing up, if he's depending on the opponent, you can just keep backing up, and this is generally a good idea what you want to do. So then you can go for like I said before, controlling space. So you can do this and you incorporate like a whip punch or some kind, like Bruce's up forward 3+4, which is a very good range move and does a pretty good amount of damage. Or if you quickly sidestep all of it, which I will demonstrate here. I just gotta get the timing down. Maybe. I wonder if you can sidestep that actually. 1, 2, side. Nope, can't sidestep it. But you generally see what I'm getting at. Zoning and spacing out means controlling the space between you and your opponent and capitalizing on their mistakes and using whip punish for all that good stuff. So, alright. Time for counter hits, which is going to lead into the basis of what combos are, and this is where it gets pretty fun. Alright, so counter hits are moves that you use before your opponent is done with an animation, or I suppose there's a better way of showing this. Hang on a sec. So I'm going to send to record, like, yeah, let's go with that. Record back 1+3? No, 1+4. Alright, his unblockable move. I'll talk about unblockables later, so don't worry. Alright, he's going for that. I go for the back 2, which is easily one of the best counter hit moves in the game. So before he can finish firing it off, you see there's a little notification on the left side called counter hit, or just counter in general. This means that the attack's properties are changed depending on if you can hit your opponent before they're done hitting a move, which is very good. This is a lot of moves you do will generally have different properties depending on if it's counter hit or not. Like back 2, yeah, it does pretty good damage, but on counter hit, launcher, very good. So now that's taken care of, which I did not need to have in this for it. Now we can talk about combos. Now you know what a general combo is. It's just like, why is he blocking? I do not want him blocking. Yeah, you probably know what a combo is. It's just like a series of moves that you do to your opponent, and does a break amount of damage. It's the kind of backbone of anyone's offense in a fighting game. Besides pokes, you need to keep pokes in them. But what you probably didn't know is that there's multiple kinds of combos. Like you have basic regular combos that, well, you have counter hit combos, which depending on the move, if it lands out as a counter hit, you can get a follow up that will have maybe higher damage, or like you can have different properties to it, all good stuff. You have regular launchers, which is just like, moves that are like dedicated launchers that no matter how you hit your opponent, if it hits, it'll launch them. And then stuff like back 2, which when it hits counter hit, will be the beginning of a combo. Let me see if I can show it off. Yeah, generally. I delayed that a little too much. And then, was there another one? And then they're just like straight up follow-ups, which is like, I don't know, if Armor King lands like a Lariat or Clothesline. Where is that move? Oh yeah, I keep forgetting it's down 4. He'll get guaranteed follow-up. It's not a true combo, but there's nothing your opponent can do to escape this move, like at all. It just comes out way too fast, and it's basically like a free follow-up. That's basically what it is. It's just a follow-up. They can't defend it against it. So now we can go into the different kinds of combos. Now we have, talk about follow-ups. Juggles are basically just like air juggles and all that good stuff. Nothing too fancy. Now what I need to do actually is I'm gonna take, well actually I'm gonna talk about chains quickly, which, well, chains like follow-up chains, like it's basically like a guaranteed move, essentially. Like it's a string. It's basically like a string, which is like a series of moves that are like pre-programmed into the game that you always will land. But if it's blocked, you know, like all of this stuff. But yeah, in general, it's just like guaranteed follow-ups for your character. But then in Tekken, there's this crazy shit called Tekken combos, which I do not know how to do. But so I'm just gonna preview it right now, and I could show it to you. Where is it? Here it is. Yeah, I don't know whose idea it was put that in the game, but okay. But I'm gonna be right back, and I'm gonna show you something called wall combos, and I'll see you in a second. Alright, so now that I'm at a level that actually has walls inside of it instead of the ones that before, let's talk about wall combos. Now, wall combos are moves or combos that you can do out of a wall that you won't normally be able to do on open field. But first, how we get a wall combo? Well, we can do like regular juggles and all that stuff, but they'll have different properties depending on the game. Like in a game like a Capcom fighter, they generally won't have wall combos. What they have instead is like a corner combo, which I would illustrate that, but it's kind of like the same thing as this, in all honesty, just like a little fancier. But now let's talk about stuff specific to Tekken, which would be like a wall splat. A wall splat is a move you use to like hit your opponent off the wall and they can go into a stun state before they hit the ground, which is basically like a guaranteed follow-up of some sort. So like, hang on a sec. There's one in particular with King I'm curious about getting. Nope, well, looks like I won't be able to get it today. Wait, let me see if I can. One more try. Right, one more. There we go. Alright, so that's the general idea of what a wall combo is. It's basically something you can do off the wall, which will have different properties than what they are on standing ground. And if you throw something like, I don't know, like a tag assault in the mix, you can start to get really crazy with the damage you can get out. And unfortunately I missed that. One more. And I completely forgot the input. Oh well. But you generally got the idea. That's the base of wall combos. And that's what combos generally are. There's multiple types, and be sure to know what your character's different kinds of combos are, and how to start up and how good stuff. Alright, so gotta readjust the position here, and then we'll continue. Cool. Actually, no, now let's get into different properties of what a combo would be. So there's a term that gets thrown around a lot. It's called like a staple combo or like a bread and butter combo. This is basically just like code for like a basic combo that your character can do that's pretty easy, or it's like easy to like in immediate execution, and it does a lot of things at the same time. Like it'll have, I don't know, like a good wall carry, or depending on if your game has like a meter bar, you'll get a lot of meter, or like it'll set up for like a ground game or anything like that. Usually a bread and butter combo does all of these at once. They have really good properties, and you can never really go wrong with using them. And they're generally where you want to start off with your character. Like say Bruce's bread and butter combo would generally be something that uses his 3, 2, tilde forward, 1. This is basically like one of the backbones of his combos. And I can't really land today, but you know what I mean. So yeah, bread and butter combos, staple combos, generally pretty easy to do, yield a lot of good stuff, and you can get a lot of good stuff out of it. They're generally pretty good to learn. Now, if you're wondering why you can't do like infinite juggles in like a lot of fighting games, it's because a lot of games or fighting games have something called hit stun decay. Now this is where it gets a little difficult to describe, but hit stun decay basically means it's impossible to like just keep a combo going infinitely. You have to get, well, like exceptions. You have to be very specific with them though. It basically means the more hits you have in a combo, the harder it is to follow up, or if depending on if like it has a lot of hits, it'll do less damage. So generally speaking, you want to keep combos like at a decent length where it has more damage than hits. You can be flashy and do like a lot of hits, but it's generally more effective to go for damage. So like let me put myself at a wall. Flip it around. Status player front. Oh, wrong one. Okay, so if his stun didn't exist, you could just like keep doing this move over and over again, and like you see right there, you can only do it like upwards of 3 times before it drops. This is because the more you hit your opponent, the farther away it'll get, or like anything like that. In like a Street Fighter game, they'll be able to pop out of it easier or something like that. Actually, I wonder if I can get this to work. Yeah, actually it wasn't so bad. But yeah, I think it's easier. Yeah, like I could just if I keep just jabbing the opponent, they'll get farther and farther away in the combo, which yeah, basically makes it hard to do longer combos. That's basically what his stun decay is. It basically means that you can't keep a combo going forever. And eventually, it'll just like you won't be able to do it anymore. All right. Now for a bunch of other stuff that can be discussed. So now this is where it gets into like the miscellaneous area, but just try to bear with me. It's not gonna be too bad. All right. So first of all, let's talk about crush moves like this, but it's easier to show with Armor King. Down back 3. You'll notice that he hugs the floor really closely. So if I do anything that's like a high move and even some mid attacks, they won't connect, and Armor King is guaranteed at down back 3. So let's say like I do like 2-1. Alright, so he's doing that now. Oh, hang on. Come on, what's the timing of that? Yeah, see, you saw his jab came out, but he wasn't able to hit me. Well, actually, I'm going to try a different move that might be easier to get an idea of. Yeah, like that. Just flat got a counter hit. Not what I was going for. Nah, I just did standing up, but you generally got the idea. If you and it's not just tied to like high crushes either. Let's say, nah, that doesn't count as a crush move. Let's say if I do a hop kick, he has like a low attack at the exact same time, like this, or like nah, it's actually bad. It's actually a bad one. Hang on, like down 3, which is a pretty strong low attack. If I do a low attack at, or got this first try. If I do a hop kick at the exact same time, as you can see, my feet leave the ground, so any low attacks that come out, they'll just flat out be evaded. Crush attacks basically translate to evasion type moves, which come out as like either like cheap or just flat out annoy the opponent, which is generally something you want to go for actually in fighting. If you want to piss your opponent off, you want to get in their head, you want to make them salty as hell. But the problem with a lot of crush moves is that they're pretty unsafe on block. Like you'll generally like if it's a low attack, you can probably like get him in a stagger state and just flat out launch him that way. Over like a hop kick like this where you leave the ground, you're probably gonna be punished for it pretty badly. Notable crush moves in this game are Lars's like up his lightning screw, which is ridiculous, and then Double Jin's up 4, which is crazy good. Like just a throw out. They basically like become invincibility moves. Alright, so crushes. Now that's taken care of. Let's talk about parries. This is where I'm probably going to start feeling a little bit. Alright. So the opponent just like straight up does that. And it's just like, yeah, whatever. I could just block it. And then I can get a Punisher. However, there's also a different kind of thing I can do. I can parry it. Yeah, like that. A parry is a general input command. You can input right as your opponent is throwing out an attack, and it gets a different effect General notable parries are like Super Smash Bros. Mainly for a sec. Mar's down B attack, which is like he does like it does a parry with his sword, and it does a lot, and it's pretty good as a defensive option. I don't really know if I classify parries as like defensive or like as an offensive technique. Probably more defensive in this case. But yeah, the trick to parries also is that their timing is generally pretty strict. Like, I just happen to be lucky that the universal parry in this game for lows is pretty lenient. Like, hang on. Yeah, like you can get a follow-up move like that. There's also one other good application for using a parry. That move, which is generally minus 11 or like something really generous. Not a lot of people will be able to launch that. However, if I'm able to low parry it, I can get a much, like, as you can see, like, I could do like that. That's a punish. That's like 13. Wait, so that looks sick. That can't be a. No, it's not. Okay. So like with Armor King, I won't be able to launch him, and I'll only be able to get like a small follow-up attack. However, if I low parry him, my options for punishment in that department go way up. This generally holds true to like a bunch of other parries across other video games, but you generally see what I mean. Like, parries will allow you different defensive options when they work, and if they work, it'll be really good for you. All right, super armor. This is one I cannot illustrate with Tekken, but I'll just briefly outline it right now. Super armor is a trait that is tied to like a big character, where if they're hit, then won't be stunned. So like say I'm just like jabbing away Armor King right now. If he had super armor, I would not be able to flinch him. Like, you see the stun, he won't be stunned, and he could just like do whatever he wants, and I would be at a severe disadvantage because of it. However, this isn't always the case. It depends on either like the moves or like what they're doing. Like some characters in like Dragon Ball Z games, they like Broly comes to mind. He has super armor on his melee attacks, so like when he does an attack, he can't be interrupted during the process. Pretty cheap stuff, but luckily Tekken doesn't have super armor as far as I'm aware. 2D fighters are pretty notorious for having super armor though, in my opinion. But yeah, that's basically the outline of it. You can look up other like things somewhere else, like as an idea of what super armor really does, but yeah, here you're not gonna see a lot too much of it, sadly. All right, now let's get into other terminology that people would be able to talk about, like pressure. Now, pressure is basically keeping your opponent on the defensive and making them block a lot of attacks. Like, you're just pelleting them with like a lot of fast moves, and they can't do anything like really do anything as like a counterattack. You're basically making them scared, is basically a good way of describing it. Another way of like putting pressure on is like it's called rush down, like across a few different games, and the reason why they are worried about attacking is because you have all this fast flurry of moves coming out that can just like really ruin someone's day, and you're just like going to town, and like they can't do shit against you. And their defensive options are also limited because you're throwing in like, I don't know, like a 3+4, which is a homing move, 4-4-3, also homing move. You hit throwing in lows, but at weird times. Back 2, which is a counter hit move. So you're just like jabbing away at them. They duck. All of a sudden, bam, back 2 right in their face. Or they're trying like doing like a follow up, bam, back 2 right in their face, and you get a launch. Really good stuff. Pressure is basically just like, yeah, it's basically just like keeping an offense on your opponent, leaving very few windows of opportunity for him to block, or if any at all. So it's just being relentless, basically. All right, priority. Priority is kind of difficult to explain with Tekken. Actually, it's if two attacks collide at the same time, like if their speed is the exact same and collide at the same time, well, not really speed wise, but if they just like connect at the same exact moment, one of them will beat the other. The one that beats the other move has a high priority. Again, this is hard to illustrate with Tekken because priority is not really a prevalent feature here. However, I have heard Well, actually, hang on. That's actually not bad. Defensive. I could probably just like set Armor King to. Oh. 2-1. Okay. I have Armor King doing that. Oh wait, I need them to start. Hang on. That's not it. Nope. It's kind of, yeah, it's hard to explain with that because in this game priority moves would basically be like whip punishers or like just crush moves, but priority moves are basically moves that will beat out other moves that they connect at the same moment. Like I've heard back two with Bruce is generally a very high priority and will like quote unquote smother other attacks, but I've never really seen it. It's just really good as like a distance move and other good stuff. So yeah. Alright, now let's go over just frames. This is where it gets rough. So I've explained before that this game runs at 60 frames per second. Broken down, 1 frame is 1/60th of a second. So if you were to have just frames, that's basically doing an input for a move in 1/60th of a second. That's really small. So like, where is that move? There it is. Like, back 4, yeah, back 4 into 1+2, which is a stunner with Armor King, is basically a just frame. It's really hard to do because on the exact frame the attack lands, like something like that, or a little beforehand. Yeah, again, it's really hard to gauge. On the exact frame the attack lands, you press 1+2 and you can get the stunner attack, which is a throw follow up to a move. Again, well, yeah, Armor King got a lot of fucking throws. Now that's not just frames also apply like a number of situations. Like you block like a -14 attack from Armor King, like something like that. I think it might be higher than -14. If you have the input for it, let me show you, or let me just bring up like the command input for what I'm doing right now. Advanced settings, HUD information. Nope. Command history. Okay. As you can see, I'm pressing 4 neutral, down 4, 2. I'm pressing that and down 4 the exact same frame, or well, not the exact same frame, but really close. Now, say I block that -14 move. Well, I'd have on the exact frame the animation ends. I need to put the entire input into that 14 frame window, and this attack is 14 frames. And considering that it's like 4 inputs you have to get perfectly on each frame, that's kind of freaking difficult. But is the payoff worth it for a move such as this? Oh, absolutely. You like one particular vicious just frame, which I would say is probably also like one of the most famous just frames of all, is Electric Wind God Fist, exclusive to Mishimas and one or two other characters. You press 4 neutral, down 4, 2, and you press down 4 and a 2 on the exact same frame, and it gets you this ridiculously good high uppercut move that will just wreck your opponent's shit all day. It's really strong. So is it worth learning? Absolutely, but again, it's a bit of an investment if you're getting into fighting games, and it's not something everyone can pick up overnight. Frankly, it's really hard to do, but that's generally the idea. Alright, now let's talk about Unblockables. And there you go. No, Unblockables basically moves that you can do that cannot be blocked. Let's see here. Well, I just got freestyle, action, standing guard. So now, hang on, let's get that shit out of there. Let's not have the input display on there at all times. Hit analysis. Nope. There we go. So like they're blocking, they're being a fool, they're just like, whatever. You can do, if you're feeling daring, you can throw out an unblockable move and your opponent not be able to block it. As you can see, they're still set to guarding. However, this is generally not advisable because most unblockables are extremely high risk and not very high in the war department. Like, I would say Crouch Stash 3 is a much better unblockable attack if you're going for it, because the opponent's hesitating. They won't throw an attack and they'll just sit there and eat that. Generally, the most dangerous time to throw out an unblockable move is when your opponent's like aggressive and they can see it coming, because frankly this shit is reactable. Like if they see it coming, they can, frankly, they could probably launch me actually, depending on the reflexes, or just jag me out of it. So yeah, this entire frame animation, I'm just a sitting duck until the move comes out. Even when oh my god, I missed there. If it misses, I'm more of a sitting duck. So, but yeah, that's generally the idea of what an unblockable attack is. So, with that out of the way, cross ups. This is something that I will not be able to illustrate with this game, but that's similar to what a cross up would be. Like, it's basically getting the other side of your opponent and attacking from their back, which in a Street Fighter game is far more valuable, because in Tekken, again, it's like a 3D fighter, and you don't have any crazy moves that jump like 50 stories in the air, unfortunately. This is basically, but by the way, up 2 with Armor King is generally a really good crush move. You can just throw it all day, and they'll never be able to hit you. But that's special tactics, I would label it. But anyway, so cross ups, yeah, if you're attacking from your opponent's back, they can't block you and all that good stuff. That's more like hang on. I can probably illustrate that with this if I can do it right. Like, hang on a sec. Defensive settings. Record that shit. Okay. So let's say I'm like sidestepping a giant string right there, like. Oh wait. Well, assuming I can sidestep it correctly, that is. So like they're throwing out like a giant string that's pretty unsafe. Oh my god, I actually that 3 attack actually tracks pretty well. How about that? Nah, but like if I can find a way to get the opponent's back and they're still in the middle of like a long combo string, I can reach their backside and do like a really strong attack to them. That's the closest I can really get to in Tekken. Like I don't know, like just reaching their backside and just doing like a crazy move. Again, a lot more valuable in a Street Fighter game, but we can get your opponents back in this game unleashed with like the craziest move you can think of. That wouldn't be one of them, but yeah, generally. Alright, so that's generally the majority of stuff out of the way, but now let's just talk about like some smaller stuff. First of all, a term called bodying, which is it's not really an option so much as there's like someone, like a lot of people in like the fighting game community use. It's basically again like one or more perfects against an opponent. Like you just like whittle them down all the way, and you're not taking any damage. That's generally called bodying, which I think is a funnier term. It's more appropriate than just saying like getting consecutive perfects like all the time. You could just say it's flat, like someone just got bodied. That means they didn't land one single blow and they got perfected against. So yeah, just more slang. Alright, but now out of the way though, let's talk about a certain strategy. I talked about rush down earlier, or like putting pressure on an opponent. But let's talk about walling, which is if I can set the AI to it, they should have like an all guard feature. Yeah, guard all. Like the opponent's just sitting there like blocking everything I do ever. That's basically what walling is, but there's more to it than that. Like if they were to wall me like flat out, anytime I did an unsafe move, they would just flat out punish me for like everything. It's basically a strategy that revolves around keeping up, like emphasizing defense above all else. Like just punish anything you can. Do keep a really strong defense, like sidestep a lot, backdash a lot, zone out your opponent. Shut up, pickups. But yeah, all that's good. But if you're finding someone who's being overly defensive, you can. I need that move again. No, I think it's back, down back. Yeah, it's down back. You can do an unblockable like that, which is I love Armor King's unblockable capital punishment. By the way, is so ridiculous. But you can against someone who's like walling, like being overly defensive, and just start throwing out like throws against them, like Armor King's fucking giant swing, tombstone pile driver. That's not a tombstone pile driver. That's a tombstone pile driver. Let's move to. Or unblockables. Anything that can absolutely get through defense, you generally want to use it. And for anyone who's like walling you, or aka turtling you, you want to keep a really good defense, and you want to just poke them all day long, and don't give them opportunity to like capitalize on a mistake. All right. And that'll just about cover it. I mean, a lot of this stuff, there's a lot of this shit, trust me. Like, for anyone who's new to fighting games, this is easily like pretty deep shit. Like, you're probably like a little overwhelmed by this. Like I was the first time I was getting this, like, whoa shit, that's a lot of stuff to take in. Like, if you see like for a game like Tekken that has like 150 moves per character, this is gonna seem daunting for the first time player. Like, hang on, it's like, I think Bruce has more. 106? Oh wow, Bruce actually has less. How about that? But for first time player, a lot of these terms are just gonna be thrown out completely out of nowhere. So and a lot of it's not really gonna make sense. But what you generally want to learn first is what I covered first in this tutorial, or just breakdown in general. You want to learn frames first. You want to learn how to punish, and you want to learn your pokes. So like, you just throw out like some pokes and keep your opponent on their toes. If you make any mistakes, like they do something really unsafe, you can punish them. You can do all of that shit, and just break it down from there. Like, I kind of listed this as like almost like in order of importance. Like, you want to learn stuff. I definitely put ground game up there too, because frankly, I don't think anyone really pays attention to ground game, but it's something really you should learn a little bit about if you're planning on playing fighting games. But anyway, that'll just about do it for me. Yeah, it's almost like an hour. I'd say it's a little longer, 30 minutes, but I generally, yeah, I'd say I managed to cover this stuff pretty well. As far as everything else, the next video I'm gonna do for this is going to be covering what you want to learn and what you want to do in a fighting game like Tekken or like Street Fighter. And again, remember, anything I talk about here, any terms, they generally apply to all fighting games. Like, except for like 2D specific versus like 3D specific games. Like, those are only like small differences though. Other than that, punishment, frames, pokes, ground game, those apply across every fighting game you ever see out there. To an extent. Again, pretty much all of them, but there might be that rare exception you run into every once in a while. But anyway, I'm going to call it there. Next video coming up, I'm going to tell you what to do and how to do it. So, see you then.